and welcome to One Voice Live. This is a space where we talk about One Voice, what it is, and how it fits into the world of singing. I'm your host, Natalie Rankin, welcoming you to episode number 50, our final episode of One Voice Live. Today is going to be all about how One Voice fits into the world of singing. Now, we knew we needed to go out with a bang and do something big for this last episode, and that's exactly what we did. I individually interviewed every single member of the One Voice Live Hall of Fame. That's right, we have the creator of One Voice, Michael Maresca. We have One Voice Coach and Master and your previous host, Alex Zeto. We have One Voice Coach and Master, Jackson Perrin, and fellow One Voice Coach, Michael Marchese. What you're about to see is a compilation of these interviews where I ask them a series of questions regarding their thoughts on how One Voice fits into the world of singing. And before I cue it up, I'd just like to take a second to say thank you. Thank you for your curiosity and your questions and the passion that you've shown for One Voice. It's truly inspiring, and I've so enjoyed my short time, as your One Voice Live host. Now let's get into it. How does One Voice fit into the world of singing?
Well, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
One Voice. The amazing thing is that it doesn't fit into the world of singing. And that's something that has been a struggle for me, trying to see, how it fit into the world of singing. And more as I had more application in the world of singing, training people, watching people make adjustments, I started to realize that it actually wasn't how One Voice fit in the world of singing, but in an insane way, it was how the entire world of singing fit inside of One Voice.
Why doesn't One Voice fit into the world of singing?
One Voice has completely redefined the way we're looking at singing and how the human voice works, and it doesn't fit into the structure that the conventional world of singing has set up.
For the first time, I could answer people back with a descriptive language about exactly what it was that was occurring in a human voice at any given time, which was amazing. I could break down style. I could break down any technique you wanted to talk about, all because of these principles and these ideas. And starting from the theories, the One Voice theories, grew more theories, but also philosophies and concepts. And from that first theory, the coordinations theory, everything just started snowballing, just created this big universe.
When One Voice came along, it was kind of the first thing in the world of singing that was like, how about we take this singing, this entity we call singing, why don't we make it make sense to where what I'm asking, what's happening to make these sounds happen, and then it puts the power in your hands.
I think that's what's so exciting about One Voice is that it finally gives us the ability to define the world of singing and remove the world of singing out of mystery and bring it into clarity. And I think that's something that's really special and something for me that in the beginning stages I told people about, and I was so excited only to realize that people didn't understand quite what I was talking about.
When we go out into the world of musical theater, when we go out to the world of being performers or recording artists, we are constantly having to take what someone is telling us to do in terms of direction and then translate it for ourselves. So never is it actually us speaking our language that we've learned in this community to somebody else, because we understand that they won't understand the terminology that we're trying to explain.
If you were only using One Voice terms with people who are not One Voicers, there would be a lot of confusion because the definitions and the words we use might sound familiar, but they mean completely different things. There would be no way to communicate it without actually digging into what each of these things mean.
We're the smaller fish.
Yeah.
In the bigger.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And and that's an advantage, honestly, because then our minds are constantly staying open and we're active in the way of challenging ourselves every day.
The tagline for One Voice is "Make singing make sense." What are some examples of how One Voice gives clarity to some of the more mysterious parts of singing?
It gives definition to what we're hearing and also makes it technical as opposed to just magical. Because magic is the effect. It is not what is actually happening in terms of like the cause.
Like in the conventional world of singing, there's so much, so many things that are just accepted that when you actually look closely at it, it's like, why are we all saying this? Like, why are we all agreeing to use this term or to talk about something like support, that when you actually sit down and dig into it and think about it, it's like, oh, this truly doesn't make sense. And it is wild that we are all just like, yeah, this is a thing. And I feel like One Voice, what it does really well is it takes all those things that are just like accepted as true, and it says, well, is it? I don't think there's an aspect of singing that One Voice hasn't made clearer for me or made make more sense, from like how I breathe or how much breath I take in, to how to access notes that feel out of my range at the moment. Even like vibrato, which is something that I feel like for so much of my time singing before One Voice, I was told all these things about how it's like this natural thing and it's about relaxing, and it just creates so many like weird habits. Whereas now understanding like really what vibrato is, I get to control it from style to style and make sure that I'm staying in the same weight, etc.
I think one of the best examples of where One Voice brings clarity is clarity in production. A concept in One Voice is what we call the creation of sound versus the shaping of sound. Amazing how much clarity it brings for people, because it's really a very simple concept that for some reason we still don't have in the majority of the world of singing. And so, for example, when I was younger, our choir teachers would say, you need to raise your soft palate so you can get on pitch, everyone. Raise your soft palate. All right. So your soft palate's up here, right? And your sound maker's down here, and they're literally connected by nothing. So how does it make any sense to lift your soft palate to make this adjust for the pitch that you want? Well, it doesn't. It makes zero sense, right? The soft palate is used for shaping sound, whereas the larynx, the vocal cords, are used for producing sound. And once you start to see that split and you start to organize sounds and things apart that way, it can bring tremendous clarity as to why something doesn't work or why it does work. Like, it suddenly becomes a very clear language, which is, I think, very helpful. And in that way, I think very clear for people to understand that.
We hear people say all the time that One Voice is going to change the world of singing forever. Why do you think it will?
Well, like, One Voice helps you get to the goal that you have in mind for your voice. And it helps you achieve a sound that you are aiming for, as opposed to a sound that somebody believes that you should sound like. I think what it does is it takes away this idea of teaching singing as a specific style, and it breaks it down to little pieces, so it's a little bit more you can understand how to define or design your own voice.
I believe that One Voice has changed like every person that's come into contact with it on an individual level. Singing beforehand felt like I was in a dark room, and One Voice like turned the light on. And that's just on the individual level of taking away people's boundaries and people's limitations. Singing is such a thing that's like, you are born with it or you're not. You're talented or you're not. And One Voice came around and was like, that's actually not true. And so I feel like the way it will change the world of singing is taking away those boundaries and allowing people to now define their voices and themselves by not just what they want to sound like, but what is worth working hard for.
It finally makes sense for people. It's talked about, like, even by like new students. I mean, one of my students, we had a conversation about how we're literally like the rebels of the singing community. It just has that feel to it. Like, it's one of those things where as soon as people come in and they understand, they're just like, oh my gosh, like, this has to be, why isn't this more known? Like, why don't people tell people about this? Like, it's just got that snowball kind of rebellious feeling. You see the light bulbs start clicking and they're just like, how have I thought this for so long? Like, why have I never thought to question people telling me things that don't make sense and question why they don't make sense until now? And it's because everyone sits there saying that it's supposed to make sense. And they're just like, but it doesn't, but I can't say it doesn't because everyone seems to think it makes sense but me.
Everyone is so unique, but everyone soars with this information.
I think what One Voice will do to the world of singing is it will give it a language that we can articulate clearly with. I think that's something that we lack in the world of singing right now, is the ability to communicate clearly. And that means that we have a lot of errors, right? Whether that's in the studio with a producer asking you for something, or for a music director asking for a certain sound from an ensemble. The clearer we can be, the more accurate our result will be. Instead of this like ominous language that we have right now that isn't it never aimed to be ominous. It never tried to be vague. It tried, and we've been trying to make it make more sense with the language that we have. But the problem is that the language that we have currently in the world of singing is a very, very limited language. And so then, because of that language limitation, we are limited in terms of our ability to express or be clear. And One Voice expands, gives us a whole new vocabulary and expands tremendously in terms of what we're able to communicate to get the result that we want.
What would the world of singing look like if everyone was a one-voicer?
Less confusion.
Communication would be so much clearer.
There would be a lot less interpretation on the technical side and a lot more freedom and interpretation on the artistic side.
Everyone would understand each other.
We'd be able to get to what we wanted to create as technicians, so then we'd be able to get to the point of the work that we're trying to convey in our art.
To be able to talk to a group of people and specify increasing just volume or increasing just weight or having everyone like extend their vocal tract at a certain moment. Like, I just feel like the ability to tell a story through music would be that much more specific and just faster. Like, we would cut out all the like, can you try it again and do and it would just become like playtime.
Well, we'd be more focused on the what and less focused on the how.
We would quit the talent language because everyone would be able to do the same things. Everyone has the same potential to do the same things everyone else does within their predominant sex. And that is amazing. And what it does is it releases us from saying, it releases us from the excuse of saying, oh, he's really talented. I just don't have that high note stuff naturally, so all that goes away because we know everyone can do it, right? It's like writing. No one thinks that you can't write as long as you have the facilities to write, the physical facilities and mechanics to do so. I expect you to be able to write, right? And so there's no magic to that, but there should be. Writing is unbelievable that we can do that, yet no one cares because we know that the person next to us can write. So what's not amazing is that you can write. I don't care. I expect you to be able to write. In fact, I'll tell you something. I expect you to write it down, and that's easy for you, right?
Right.
What becomes the and because of that, the privilege of that, I think is the best way to say that we receive, is that we then have the opportunity to focus on the art of storytelling through writing versus someone's ability just to write, and the art of communication through words, right? And I think the same thing is true about it. No one cares that you can write 3,000 words. I don't care. I don't care if you write 20 words. I don't care if you can write 20 words in 2 seconds. I don't care. Like, maybe that's a fun party trick, but it doesn't do anything else for me other than that. And so what becomes interesting, what becomes exceptional, is your ability to communicate through those words and your ability to tell story. And I think the same thing would happen in the world of singing, is that in the world of singing, what would be taken away was, it's amazing that you can hit that high note. It's amazing that you can, that's no longer important. What becomes elevated is the ability to communicate through those lyrics, those words, with your sound.
It becomes about why and what you're singing, not just that you're singing.
Yeah.
Individuality can really come in, and true expression, which we covered in the Artistry series.
Yeah.
It all came down to, once you have the technical skill, it becomes about what you do with it. What is one thing that you would say to someone who's just starting their one voice journey?
I mean, the biggest thing I think is patience and understanding that it is a lifelong journey. There's no finish line. So just kind of like sink into that discomfort, but to also along the way really celebrate the tiny wins.
Don't ever let me or anyone else tell you something that doesn't make sense without asking questions. I think a lot of singing culture has been like, this is just the way that it is.
Right.
And
if you don't know, you'll never know.
Then you'll never know, right? And it's one of those things where it's like, no, that's nonsense. And let's ask questions. Let's understand. There's no reason it should be some secret. It should make sense and it should be fun.
Practice curiosity. And when you're learning something actually new, assume you will have frustration and prepare for it by practicing grace with yourself.
I would just tell this person to stay focused on their goal that they have, and that things, of course, take time. And this is you building your voice. The hardest work is not physical. It's not a physical sensation. It is the mind.
The journey of One Voice Live has been almost a year and a half. What is something that you have to say to the people who have tuned in for every single show?
Hey, you. Thanks. Truly, I am deeply grateful for you taking and or choosing to spend your time with us, to follow, to learn, to absorb everything that's here. And wow, if you do, it will make great change in your life as a vocalist.
Thank you. Like literally, that's all I just want to say thank you. I love One Voice so much, but part of what makes it so fun to talk about and to work on is the people who love it as much as I do. The people who have watched every episode or nearly every episode or sit down and hunker down, they're just like, ooh, like eating it up. Like you are One Voicers. Like you are the type of mindset that like I want to be working with.
That's insane dedication and loyalty and drive to understand, drive for knowledge. That's awesome.
Thank you. And know that we are also here for any time that you have a question. You can always reach out. We're here to continue to keep you inspired and continue asking questions. Maybe then reach out to one of us for a consultation and see what your goals are, and maybe we can work on them together.
We're excited for the future of One Voice.
We're excited for the future of One Voice.
We're excited about the future of One Voice.
And we hope you are too.
Happy singing.
Stay curious.
Good luck on your vocal journey.
Ask questions.
And keep on rocking.
All right, my friends, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in. And remember, this channel isn't going anywhere. It will always be here as a resource for you. And if you need more One Voice in your life, go ahead and follow us on Instagram at @SingOneVoice. And if you think you're ready to take the plunge and get to work on private training, head to singonevoice.com to sign up for a consultation. We'll see you around. Bye.